Hello, I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Lauren Pastrana. Welcome to the CBS News Miami special, Miami Proud.
For the past 5 years, we've brought you the feel-good stories of people and places making a difference in our community.
They're stories we look forward to bringing you every week. Over the next half hour, we're going to revisit some of our favorites from 2023.
And mind you, choosing our favorites was not an easy task.
We begin with two people woven into South Florida's Black history for the barriers they broke and the doors they opened. Naja Sherman will introduce you to a lawyer and lobbyist, Yolanda Jackson, who has a long list of awards and accolades.
But first, I have the story of Pastor Lorenzo Johnson. Some years after the U.S. Supreme Court outlawed school segregation, when Miami-Dade schools first allowed black students in, Lorenzo Johnson and his siblings were among them.
Most important thing I can remember, the braveness of my mother.
Lorenzo Johnson Sr. recalls the day in September 1961 when he was a third grader walking through the door at Earlington Heights Elementary School in northwest Miami-Dade.
We know that we had police officers on the side and watching and we walking in and it felt kind of creepy at the beginning. But once we got in, and started mingling with the kids, it was great. My mother stood tall, walking up looking tall. She didn't look down, she looked tall. She was walking tall, and her kids, she was protecting her kids.
On that day, Frances Johnson and her children became a part of history, 2 years after Miami-Dade's first school integrations. In 1961, there were 165,000 students in the county public school system. The first schools to be integrated were Air Base Elementary in Homestead and Orchard Villa Elementary in Liberty City. When Frances Johnson passed away in 2021, that image faded in this news clipping, but perfectly clear in her son's mind sparked an idea.
I had to find something to pay tribute to her.
Johnson and the school principal had a mural created memorializing his mother's bravery and encapsulating that moment for all who went through the school.
I want them to think about that we all are equally inclined and we all have the equal rights for everything and all things. There's been a struggle with black folks through the years.
It would take several years for all of the schools to be integrated. Today, 62 years later, Johnson stays involved, speaking to students, reliving his story.
And I want the black kids to realize and understand the history where we came from.
She is the first black woman to hold position of chair of the Beacon Council, the economic engine for Miami-Dade County. Added to the list of firsts for Yolanda Jackson, starting with her original law firm job back in 1990.
There were no black women lawyers.
A few firms later, she landed at Becker Law and found her niche in lobbying, gifted at accessing lawmakers and bringing them together. Among her accolades, Florida Trend Magazine's Floridian of the Year for 2022. Some of her proudest work, representing historically black colleges and the Sickle Cell Research Foundation.
I enjoy advocating on behalf of people who need to have a voice.
Mentored by late United States Congresswoman Carrie Meek and firm founder Alan Becker, Jackson believes they shaped her and her career of firsts, like as 2019 commencement speaker for her law school alma mater, the University of Florida.
They had never had a woman of color to speak before.
Determined and resourceful, Jackson was instrumental in memorializing the founder of Bethune-Cookman University, securing a groundbreaking presence for the educator at the nation's capital in 2022.
Mary McLeod Bethune is the first African American to represent a state in statuary hall. That was life-changing.
A champion for diversity. As the Beacon Council chair, she aims to widen access to resources for all business and highlight the ethnic tossed salad rather than melting pot of people all over the county, citing as example her hairdresser shop.
In that salon, there's somebody from Dominican, there's somebody from Ohio, somebody from Jamaica, somebody from Trinidad, somebody from Cuba, all in the same salon. That is Miami.
Community and roots mean everything. Her hometown of Liberty City even honored her as its 2019 hero, and the trailblazer, firm rainmaker, never forgets where she came from.
I'm James Anada's daughter. That's what my church members call me.
And never misses a chance to inspire the next generation.
Sharing my story may encourage some other little girl from Liberty City that went to Charles R. Drew Elementary School that had really picky hair.
Naja Sherman, CBS News Miami.
Inspirational for sure, as is the story of Hyvel Ferguson Davis, who is a survivor and a champion. The North Lauderdale mother of two almost died when she was 41 after suffering a stroke, and then a month later a major heart attack. Recovery was tough, but she says the excellent care at Broward Health gave her purpose and determination to improve her lifestyle. Knowing that African American women are disproportionately impacted by heart disease, Davis created a group to motivate others to do the same. She called the group Heart Sisters. They gather for salad parties, they do walks, yoga, and just motivate each other.
In my vulnerability, there was strength. I found connection. I found purpose. It's not about a marathon. We can do a block and we're fine because now we're being accountable to ourselves. I can control my destiny. And when I see my children today, I know I'm changing their life.
Heart Sisters is just one way Davis gives back. She's also an ambassador for the American Heart Association and speaks often about her journey, saying she is determined to change the world.
Giving back to the community knows no age limit. Chelsea Jones has the heartwarming story of a group at a senior living facility tackling the homeless problem in a unique way. But first, I introduce you to an Aventura senior who is leading a group of volunteers to help those in need.
In a prime location.
This is what Carol Urus envisioned when she decided to retire at the V at Aventura Senior Living Community.
We have to see all the other bags that are ready to go.
But she actually spends a lot of time here, still working hard.
So I thought I was coming here to retire. But guess what? I didn't retire. I found out that you don't retire from giving back.
Carol leads the Friends Helping Friends volunteer group at V. A former teacher, she has a heart for service.
I've always been a volunteer. Goes back to high school, college, and then I was a volunteer at the Veterans Hospital, the old Biltmore Hotel during Vietnam when the men were coming back from Vietnam. And then I was a foster mother while I was teaching school and adopted a special needs child.
Carol and a small but mighty team of volunteers take on projects to benefit various local organizations. They collect clothes and personal items for foster children, Jewish Community Services, the Humane Society of Greater Miami, the Chapman Partnership, and more, as well as provide meals to Aventura police officers and firefighters during the holidays.
Anything that she can do, once she learns of a need in the community, she'll just jump, both feet in and recruit some other residents, and before you know it, they have a big program going to, whether it be gathering some things or raising money. It's been incredible.
V at Aventura Executive Director Renee Garvin was so inspired by the work, she set them up with new wheels called the Vehicle for Good, so they can spread their kindness across the community.
And these residents they've done such amazing things throughout their lives. And now here in their 70s, 80s, and sometimes even 90s, they're still so active and looking at ways that they can help others. Talk about living life well, happy, healthy, and just, making sure that no matter what age you are, you can continue to make a difference in the world around you. To me, it's very inspiring.
The desire to contribute to society, to make the world a better place, does not need to diminish as one grows older. And at the V Living, we are not retiring. We're living to help other people. And I think that's one of my purposes.
This is a table full of grocery bags. In your home, you probably have some just like these stored away in a nook or cranny. But at Covenant Living of Florida, these bags are being put to better use.
Rather than sleeping on hard concrete or benches, they're sleeping on these mats that are more comfortable.
Once a week on Friday mornings, residents come together and turn these bags into plarn, a combination of plastic and yarn.
You work to get a roll of this about the size of a soccer ball. Once you get the roll about that big, then you can sit down at your leisure and begin joining began crocheting.
With roughly 650 bags, a 2.5-foot wide and 6-foot long mat is created, and the impact is already being seen.
He says, let me tell you a story about myself. One of your mats saved my life.
Don Roth says while getting out of his car one day, he met a man who was unemployed and homeless, but these mats changed his life.
And he said, believe it or not, the ability to sleep on something soft that's not wet. I felt somebody cared enough to make a mat for me. It gave me a totally different perspective on life.
That man now has a job and a place to live. And that's the whole purpose. The folks here at Covenant Living collect bags at their facility and then sit down and craft mats before they're donated to Hope South Florida, an organization that works to rehabilitate the homeless population. A service done in faith by people who are simply spending quality time together for the greater good.
We have wonderful relationships and do things together that makes life much more enjoyable.
I'm Chelsea Jones, CBS News, Miami.
Talk about making a difference.
Yeah, what a great idea. Hats off to them. All right, still ahead for us, the significance of Virginia Key Beach and how one program is ensuring the community never forgets its rich history.
Plus, Levan is a man in demand, whether he's on stage or drumming up support for musicians' rights on Capitol Hill. That's next.
Welcome back. Making Miami proud through the magic of music. Drummer and producer Levan is sought after like no other in South Florida, and with very good reason.
CBS News Miami's Jim Barry profiles this advocate for musicians' rights, who also happens to have something in common with a Supreme Court justice.
Whether he's riffing alone in his studio or live before 100,000 music fans, Levan is more than staying alive. He is thriving in the music industry.
That's what I do. People pay me for this. It's crazy.
From banging on pots and pans as a little kid to lessons from age 5, he studied music in high school and the University of Miami. And after graduation in 1989, surprisingly, did not leave Florida.
About a month after school, I saw an audition for an artist, Latin artist named Cheyenne, who's still doing it. Yeah, heartthrob. And I got the gig and was with a bunch of friends who had gone to University of Miami as well.
From there, the calls came in and the work continued, leading to 1 Grammy Award, 7 Latin Grammys, and many nominations. From salsa to rock to reggae, whether with artists or commercial jingles, most of his work is done right here, like on this 2015 pop hit by Banners, Somebody to You. 2 years ago, Levan was the musical director for the Latin Grammys, performing with Bad Bunny, which led to touring with the reggaeton megastar as musical director and drummer.
That album that he was touring on had a lot of live music and drums and guitars, so he wanted to add that element into the tour, and it was a lot of fun.
Active with the Recording Academy for over 20 years, Levan has lobbied for musicians' interests, taking his knowledge and passion to Capitol Hill. A humble guy who says he really isn't in it for the recognition. When Palmetto High School announced he'd been nominated for the school's Hall of Fame, Levan was surprised.
Honestly, when I got the call, I thought, oh, they made a mistake. Like, a drummer, I bang on things for a living, and here are these other people that invent stuff and technology and a Supreme Court justice. It was amazing.
He does not take any of it for granted.
I've seen the world. Played in China, I played at the Kremlin in Russia, I played at Glastonbury Festival, the Forum in LA. I feel like I've been so lucky to get paid to do what I love to do, see the world with my friends and play music. I mean, what better job is there?
I'm Jim Barry, CBS News, Miami.
There is no better job. Way to go, Lee. Well, our community has a rich history, and in 2023, there were concerted efforts to preserve it. One example, keeping alive the memory of the Bay of Pigs veterans, those who took part in the ill-fated attempt to drive out Fidel Castro and communism from Cuba, are aging. To help ensure their legacy, we saw a multi-million-dollar expansion of the Bay of Pigs Library and Museum in Little Havana, and at the city-sponsored Hialeah Garden Museum honoring Brigade 2506. They're constantly building their collection of memorabilia and booking student tours. Two museums scrambling to tell the story and challenged by Father Time.
That's the message here, that freedom is worth dying for and offering your life for.
We have over 110 veterans which we videotaped, right? And we're going to make sure that we go ahead and display them in our new museum.
In Hialeah Garden Museum, staffers are training volunteers, many the sons and daughters of Bay of Pigs vets, to give tours and staff the museum in the future.
Virginia Key Beach has a storied past. Back in the early 1900s, it was a place of refuge for black people in South Florida who didn't have access to the county beaches. CBS News Miami's Chelsea Jones explains how one program is making Miami proud and making sure the community never forgets its rich history.
It may look like an oasis now, but back in 1945, it really was for black people.
For many people not to know about this and know about their cultural background is almost saddening.
And that is why the Miami Dolphins Football Unites program hosted this cultural tour to teach people from different groups like the Dan Marino Foundation, Special Olympics, and the Boys and Girls Club about the Virginia Key Beach's historical significance.
Sometimes we forget and we just let it go into oblivion. And so it's important that we resuscitate those ideas that our space should be preserved.
Neil Hall is the executive director of the Virginia Key Beach Park. It's no secret that black people had to fight for their rights in Miami. That story is told here. Several black men protested at Haulover Beach, which was only for white people back in the early 1900s. The wade-in served as a catalyst for Virginia Key Beach to be designated as a colored-only beach.
I think it's important to know that the legacy that came before them so that they can continue to leave our legacy and stand on the shoulders of giants that came before us.
During a time where whites and blacks lived very much separate lives during segregation, Virginia Key Beach was a place for black people to congregate without fear. And this tour was a chance to showcase that.
And we're bringing together different intersections of the community.
At a time when Florida is battling many challenges to black history as a whole, these people are working to preserve it.
We will be teaching our history forever. Whether or not you wish to acknowledge it is your business.
Virginia Key Beach was closed in 1982 due to high costs. It was reinstated as a beach park and received historical designation in 2002. After years of people fighting to protect the significant history of Virginia Key Beach, it reopened in 2008.
So I feel as if with as many people can learn about it, the better.
I'm Chelsea Jones, CBS News, Miami.
Now we introduce you to a local attorney, but he didn't catch our attention because of his legal expertise.
Hashim Birney has volunteered for 7 years at Miami-Dade Animal Services. CBS News Miami photojournalist Peter Miranda has his story.
What a guy, what a guy. Once I started volunteering, it was just a fish caught in a hook. I mean, I just love coming here and being with the dogs, spending time with them, just taking them out for walks. Give them a few minutes each day of just a little enjoyment outdoors. We encourage everybody to adopt. There's some fantastic dogs here.
Animal Services is really lucky to have someone like Hashim who is dedicated to the animals, who gives so much of his time, but not only does he give of his time, he gives his love to each one of the animals that he comes into contact with. And it really takes a special person to come in and volunteer their time so willingly and give their love and their affection and their attention to helping our shelter pets. And we're hoping that the rest of the community will be inspired by Hashim.
Look over there. Really, spending time with the animals is the best reward I could ask for. You can see for yourself how loving they are. They just make me so happy. And they make me go back and hug my own dog even more, just because of how much love I'm filled with for these creatures.
Hashim's work is appreciated. He has received the Volunteer of the Year award from Miami-Dade Animal Services for the past 4 years.
And up next, we're off to Zoo Miami, where you'll meet a special man.
If you find a job that you like, regardless of how much it pays, stay with it.
More words of wisdom from Fred Cohen when we come back. We couldn't put together a Miami Proud special without sharing the story of Fred Cohen. He got his start at the Crandon Park Zoo as a zookeeper way back in 1963.
Well, today the octogenarian is still working and considered an institution at Zoo Miami. As CBS News Miami's Maribel Rodriguez shows you, Fred lives for making zoo visitors smile.
I'm not going to kiss you. I ain't going to touch you.
Fred Cohen loves to introduce people to his favorite animals with these special close encounters.
Here you go. Here you go, sweetheart.
As a zookeeper, Freddie has had many encounters and he loves to retell them.
We used to show them how we shear sheep. In Australia, they do it in 3 minutes. They can do a sheep. I ain't that good.
Whether handling farm animals or wildcats.
And you could walk in and talk to the lions, you know, and just about scratch them under the chin.
He's part of the zoo's rich history.
I helped deliver a baby giraffe at Crandon. I worked in the kitchen, and they call it the nutritious kitchen now. But I worked there for over 30 years.
His executive chef role even landed him on national television.
Ron McGill came to me and he says, "Come to my office, somebody wants to talk to you on the telephone." So I went, the phone rings, and he hands me the phone. It's a young lady from David Letterman show in New York. Ron McGill and I go over there, we take 2 ringtail lemurs, and we took a parrot.
B.B. King is here, and the gentleman who makes food for the zoo animals, and he's here. He's going to mix up zoo food.
Never the shy type, he's also been a professional clown named Go-Go, seen here in a zoo event. Fred did retire in 1998, but returned, worked the carousel, giraffe feeding station, then transportation department. Ever since, he is quite the celebrity.
So you have people that have been here before, have met him, enjoyed the time with him, and have brought back their children and their children's children to come meet him.
They love hiding. They dig holes.
His love for all creatures, including the 2-legged ones, is evident.
I've had people come in here and pay admission to come in, spend 10 minutes with me just to say hello and walk out. I said, "You came and paid. Go see the animals. What animals you want to see?" Hello. How you guys doing?
The staff cherishes him. They say it's like having your grandfather around, complete with the pearls of wisdom.
If you find a job that you like, regardless of how much it pays, stay with it.
Maribel Rodriguez, CBS News, Miami.
Words to live by, for sure.
Yeah, he really is a South Florida treasure. And with that, we thank you for joining us and look forward to sharing more of the stories that make Miami proud. You can always revisit our Miami Proud stories at cbsmiami.com.
On behalf of all of us at CBS News Miami, happy holidays and happy New Year.